So I'm going to start this bit of conversation, and I'm going to start this bit of conversation. And I want to do that by talking about how I came onto this thing, power of the pause. And the phrase came to me one day, in part because I don't like to pause when I'm upset, period. Once I, know that I'm upset, then I know I can look at somebody and find fault. And so I don't need to pause. I just need to look in front of me. Whoever it is standing there arguing with me is at fault. And there's no reason to pause, except that over and over in my life, that happened to be Diane, or it happened to be one of my children, or it happened to be, as it is for most of us, somebody that we care about. And so I kept saying, this is not working. When I left More to Life, left Remarkable Retreats, that experience left me brokenhearted, not because of what was done to me, but because of the way I did that. And it was punctuated, although it was not as acrimonious with in fact, it was fine ultimately with Darren and Pascal and Lou. It was just, I had not really sort of handled my end of the responsibilities. And at that point, I made one of these things where I said, I never, ever, 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 ever again want to come at somebody and blame them for what I'm responsible for, period. Never, ever, ever do I want to do that. As I said sometime early day, I don't want to send an email like that. I don't want to, I just don't want to do that, ever. And I didn't know what to do. And the only thing I knew that worked for me when I got really upset, in my home, Diane and I, a long time ago, I would say, I need to stop. I need to stop. I need to go collect myself somehow. Literally physically leave the room, or, a couple of times leave the house. Just completely go. I mean, I honestly spent, several weekends in hotels until I was sane enough to come back home. And I never hit Diane. I never called her name. I never pushed her. I never did any of that. But I'm really can be mean when I get my voice is raised. I mean, I'm not meek like I am today. And I came by that honestly. My dad, when he had his big sort of booming voice, and when he got upset, he just bore into whatever he was upset about until it went away. So when I got on to, I think my life is about love. Okay, so it's about a journey to love, which is where it started in Heart Led Life. When I got on this journey to love, and then all of a sudden it was put to me, either your life is about love or it's about something else. If it's about love, that means you're living it. And if you're living it, then you're not bearing into somebody else. And if you're not bearing into somebody else, then you do something when you know you're about to. That's the way I backed it out. And then I went, well, what percentage of the time would that be good? I could do that 40% of the time, and 60% of the time I could just bear into somebody. It'd be fine. That'd be a big improvement.
Except for that.
Except for those guys.
15% people that got shattered.
That's right. That's right. And so when I got onto the work about the heart and the mind and the heart and the mind, and what I was saying was that when you go into the mind or through the mind to the truth, not that that's a bad thing, it's a very helpful thing, but you're also dragging some remnants of the mind with you. And you're keeping that sort of pathway burning, so to speak. And I was convinced, and I am more today, that if you open the heart in a moment in time, the mind stops, it pauses, and something else can happen. You're burning neural pathways that are different, and but I was convinced, being the person that I am, that pausing was a passive thing. To pause is passive. And I'm now convinced it's the most active thing that I can do. It's the most active, proactive thing. It's anything but passive. It takes tremendous resource and courage to say, I need to stop now, or whatever it is that I need to do. And
especially when you're in that heightened state of anger or launching out. How do you do that? How do you pause when you're in just rage, or not so much rage, but...
Well, I'll give you my take on it, and I want to hear yours. I think most of us have done Living Yes, right? Most of us have done Living Yes. I don't know that Lisa has, I think. Where are you, Lisa?
Yeah,
you did Living Yes.
Right. Yeah.
With me, yeah. Were you in my boat?
I was not in your boat.
Okay, well, then you still did it, but it's not. Rushton will tell you that being in my boat is not exactly a cup of tea, because somebody's going out in some big rapid somewhere if you're in my boat.
You have death experience around.
So if you remember, when you have 5 folds, I'm going to use that as an analogy. 5 folds. You've got entrance, corkscrew, crack in the rock, jawbone, and sock'em dog. You got 5 folds. These are the 5 folds. As you come around a corner, I've done it so many times, you come around a corner and you hear the energy coming to you. The energy of 5 folds is backing up into you. Now, the guides never, ever, ever go into entrance without stopping. Ever. I can tell you exactly where they stop, and then they meet and they say, this is the way we're going to do it. And they know the sequence, but they pause, because to go into entrance without that plan is, like asking for trouble. Yeah. In the same way that just following my mind, which I hear coming, and the energy that's ingesting me is, I know it's trouble. I know. There has never been a time that I haven't gone down that I've sort of bumped somebody around. Additionally, so you go through entrance and then you eddy out. There's another pause. So even if I get through entrance, even if I say, okay, I can't quite pull back the horses just quite yet, which is often my thing. I don't quite pull it back going into entrance. Can't quite get hold of it. I feel that I'm much, much better at it, but I can often get through entrance without going to the side and pausing. But usually what happens is, just like entrance, going through that boom, 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 I go, eddy out. Eddy out now. No, don't go through corkscrew like this. Don't go through corkscrew like this. And so the analogy for me of that, or the metaphor of that, is that in any sort of state that the mind starts to come your way, there's a pause. Yeah. And if you can't make one, the next one will bump you around till you say, now, there's always life is a drop pool, is a drop pool experience. You bump along something, you can eddy out. You bump along something, you can eddy out. It's a rough patch, and you can eddy out. It's a rough patch, you can eddy out. And so the pause is not, I don't always catch it right at the beginning. I almost always catch it after after entrance.
Mhm.
Almost always. And every now and then I can get all the way to Sock 'em Dog, and I'm convinced that somebody's not paddling hard enough. And that's why the ride is so rough. And I can usually tell you who it is and how they did it and what they did wrong, to my demise.
And how you could have done it better.
I could have done it better.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd only listened to me, we wouldn't have hit that rock. You know, I could even have that voice.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Sweet,
if
So
we want to do it that
gentle.
way, we can do it that way.
So wise. Such a teacher.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I got onto was that if I truly wanted to live a heart-led life, or I wanted a journey to love, that because of my nature, I needed to pause, period.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I was in Five Falls, I was going to run it without stopping, and I was going to go crashing into the rock.
Mm-hmm.
And I have hit the back jawbone, and it ain't pretty. It's pretty. Jawbone second, then corkscrew, then cracking the rock, then corkscrew, then sucking dog, or whatever it is. I can't remember. Anything anybody want to?
I got a question then.
Sure.
So you're a very disciplined man, and well, you are. I mean,
Go ahead. Okay, I'll take that as that's what you say.
So I see a very disciplined man who is true to his word and has a lot of self-control and has practiced this for years and decades. So somebody younger, somebody less disciplined, that's all of a sudden inside the upset or the mind just raging, and it's I'm firing at my friend here, and I'm just going at her with such anger, and I love her so dearly, but I'm caught in the anger with you, and I'm just being pissed off with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to pause.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What I do?
Yeah. Yeah. Are you asking me?
Yeah. Well,
I'll stop doing that. Yeah. So. Yeah.
For anybody, not just Jim, just
Yeah.
conversation here.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here going, that's great, Richard. I'm not Richard Perry. I don't have the skill level. I'm just pissed off. I'm taking it out on somebody I love so dearly.
Yeah. Not surprising for me, it's physical. So when I'm in that place, whether I'm leaning into someone else, often it's this poor target. Not that he's poor, he's amazing and strong and actually withstands so much of it. And he just doesn't take it on. But when I'm coming, I feel myself coming, like either at him or I'm going up into the reactivity hard. I will feel myself pitch forward. I will feel my head forward. I will feel my chest. Like this is all closing tight. I am on the front side of my body. The back side of my body is numb. Like it's like I can't even feel it. And my stomach is tight. I can feel it now. Like I can't breathe. My diaphragm stops doing what the diaphragm does.
Okay.
It goes up into my head. Like I don't feel my body. So those are my cues when I feel it here, and clenching. Jaw is a big one. Like these are the precursors.
Right.
And it's almost like these are the, where you just start to hear the water coming back. You're like, ooh, here it is. Here it is. There are behaviors that accompany it. I don't look people in the eye. I'm checking on my phone. I'm electronics.
So what do you do to pause that?
Well, first, it's noticing is the first piece for me.
For you.
And as we were exploring earlier, it's like I can get good at the notice. We're skilled at the noticing here. And it's almost like I can just go, well, great, I saw that. And then I'm just going to keep on pressing into whatever's here. When I have the wherewithal, and this is where the discipline comes in, and I'm not there yet, I will sometimes literally take a step back. I will literally take a foot and bring it back. And I will come into the back of my body. I'll come back. And at that moment, find a breath. Find a breath. And for me, there's something that has to happen before the breath. I tried I'll put the breath on my phone every hour. I'll remind myself to breathe at every transition. I'll go to the potty and breathe 3 times. Every client that comes in, I have to breathe 10 times, and none of that ever worked for me. That there's something for me that's just like, I feel like the signals are there, a pause is required, or you are going to flip the fuck out of the boat.
Period. That's what's going to happen.
I'm going to flip out.
Yeah.
I'm going to flip out.
Right, Joe?
And he just was like,
Yes.
flipping out. And luckily, my family's just like,
His mom. He's off, man.
I mean, really, they're so patient. And I'm.
So, can I shift? Just curious.
Sure.
That's the extrovertedness of you, being so clear about your energy level.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious, 2, 3 introverts. So what do we do?
Can we let her, I want to
Okay.
hear the rest of what she does,
Sorry to
then we
pause.
can do that.
Okay.
So one is the breath. You take a step back, take a breath. Is there anything else?
Yeah. So, and Joe taught me this.
Oh, yeah.
So I was tripping out one time. I'll never forget. I was standing.
Joe was tripping out?
No, I was
Oh,
tripping out.
Okay.
There's a theme. He trips out too. You trip out too. And the kids trip out more than we do. Combined. So I don't even remember what the event was, but I was super, super anxious. I remember clear as day, I was standing in the kitchen by the kitchen sink, and I called you at work. And, you did what you do at work, and I hear him get up with his phone and the little door and the chick, like down the Georgia Tech stairs to go outside, and it whooshes in, and then he's like, I'm here. And I don't even remember what I said, but it was just all up here. I was like, it's up here, it's up here.
Spinning.
I was spinning out. And and I could hear him breathing with me, and you told me to come into my feet. And you said, just say to yourself, I feel my feet, or feel wiggle your toes. And you had me rock side to side in front of, you had me feel all of my feet. And I would come back up and go back to, and that has become a mainstay for me. When even if I just start to feel my energy go up, whether I'm with a client, I start to feel myself go away, feel your feet. I've taught clients that. And you can do it now. If you just say, feel your feet, I feel my feet, I feel my feet, do you feel your feet? Maybe you don't, but the energy goes from up here and pulls it down. All the way down, and it grounds me.
So that's a huge pause. And
yeah,
if you do that, whatever that physical is, along with breath,
right.
You have 2 points of attention. The mind can't do anything. The mind cannot do anything if it's got 2 points of attention. It's got attention on your feet, attention on your breath. The mind doesn't go. Now, of course, the mind says, stop that, come back here. But, that's fair enough. We retrain it not to be worried. But go ahead. Is there more?
No, there is. I want to talk more with what you guys do with your face. I want to explore that more.
Yeah.
with what you do with your eyes, where you look, where you, like where that goes.
You want me to say something about that, or you want to?
I'm curious what
Mm.
you think. Well, not that I don't want to hear. I do
No,
want
it's
to hear
fine.
you.
I'm going to answer your question, Stephen, because I experience it a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when my triggers are very familiar, I would say. You know, like I mean,
Yeah.
I've lived with him for years, right? So they are, you know,
Max, you're talking about Max.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
dog.
Max, my
Talk
dog.
about Max the dog, of course.
Max is like the antidote for triggers. So it's so familiar to me that it's like, here you are again. And what happens for me is that simultaneously I feel the pain of where that leads. You know? And so it's like that, I know that, and I know where it goes. I know that, and I know where it goes. Or I know this, and I know where it goes. Whether it's, I don't have an exact example, but like I know those triggers and those pains. And when I feel that pain, that is my pause. Because I'm like, it's almost like a stand that I've taken. Like the never ever. You know, I never ever want to perpetuate that. I never ever want to perpetuate that. And so when I recognize that, that's when it's like I have to drop an anchor, right? So that I
Nice.
don't go further.
Beautiful.
You know? And so what that anchor is might depend on the situation. But oftentimes for me, it is just stop. Just stop.
So are you saying, what I'm hearing you say is that you recognize the signals ahead of time because you're so familiar with them? So that then you can drop an anchor. What happens when you go past that and you're actually launched?
Well, you know how when you drop an anchor and like
The boat's going right back. Yeah.
Exactly. So it might not look so pretty. But the thing is that there's always the opportunity to drop the anchor. You know, and there's always that opportunity to be still. And it sounds a lot easier in the saying of it than in the being in the midst of the muck. But there is this point where it's like, where it's so familiar to me that it's like, sometimes it's leaving a room. Sometimes it's, you know, just closing my eyes. Sometimes it's requesting like time. And what I also find in those moments of that dropping the anchor, that's where I find my breath as well. And you mentioned that too. And in that breath, this is what I've really appreciated about, thank you for introducing me to meditation, because it gives, that's what elongates my pause.
Nice.
You know? And what it helps me remember is what I'm practicing daily-ish.
Usually 3 times a week.
Yeah. You know, so it's like, and that's why I practice, so that I remember what that
stillness,
anchor. Stillness is, and that becomes my anchor, so that I can call on it when all that junk comes around.
That's nice.
So that's how I.
Good. Either one of you want to jump in?
No, because I actually don't have I'm not good at politics. I mean, that's why I'm asking the
You're getting
question.
better at it.
You
I
are.
say you over and over, you're getting better at it.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I just, I'm so grateful to Brad and the work that those years brought us because, I never even heard of the word breath.
Hmm.
So that in itself, and there are times when if I'm in that state of anger and upset, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, I know the feelings, whatever they are for me, different than yours. I know that starts from my gut down here, just kind of rising.
What did you do with Lucy?
Wow. It's so effortless. It's just like a shift. I just sort of like, I don't know, Richard. That's a
Something
great question.
happened though. Something
Yeah.
happened, and that something is important for you.
The phrase keeps coming over is that Brad's shifting, but a miracle is nothing more, nothing less than a shift in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And as she started walking over, I just shifted my perspective. It's just it was so subtle. It went from irritation and piss off and upset being here, and then I just shifted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how actually.
Did you see her?
Yeah, she came. She was coming towards us. We really weren't that upset. Where's my wife? And then I could feel the annoyance in my body, and I saw her, and I just the shift was I smiled at her. Yeah, I just smiled at her, and all of a sudden I was like completely engaged with her and completely out of my body.
Yeah. It'd be something like that you actually, Brad also said, it's easier to act your way into right thinking than think your way into right acting. So, I mean, we haven't done it this time, but the Buddha smile, we do that at the end of the meditation.
Yeah.
I mean, I've learned how to do that. And when I'm upset, you just go, okay.
So is that how we know? Is that how we know?
You'll never quite know. That's the thing. You'll never know. Is that the Buddha smile I'm about to get assassinated? Or is that he's really happy with me? You never could tell with Brad, actually. He was a master at not letting you know. Because he wanted you to have your life experience with the life cycle. But I do think that there's something about your energy met her. There's probably something in what you we were upset about being here, but she's here.
Yeah.
There's the perspective shift wasn't from my frustration. It was from, my annoyance to a human being. And that shift made something happen. And you brought something into it.
Which is directly connected to your work of the last couple of days, right? I mean, that's what you're after.
Yeah, don't stop at the criticism. Don't stop at the
Right.
Yeah, and I think the thing that keeps coming back to me about kind of what you're asking and what is sitting with me is just really that visualization and that experiencing and anticipation of when I see myself doing that, when I see myself in that reactivity, and kind of giving yourself permissions for that like escape plan almost to get out.
Permission to give yourself.
Yeah, just so you have an idea of.
I love that escape plan. That is really good. Somebody write that.
But I mean, like what you were saying earlier, it's like what's coming, right? Or you can anticipate the situations and and the reactions based on your experiences. And so then I think it's spending some time in that. How do I want to be in that when it comes next time?
Mm.
And how do I make it just a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better? So you're working your way back to more of like the, you know, you're not through all 5 of the falls. You know, maybe you're at 4, maybe you're at 3, maybe, and then you'll have those.
You're saying you pre-think out exit plans?
I think you give yourself some options.
Well, it's kind of like in the airplane. In the airplane, when
Yeah.
they show you your seatbelts
Right.
and how to.
Yeah.
And most of us, you know, we go, I'm not looking at the damn thing. Just play for me. That's the way we always. I know if this reaction's going, I'm screwed. You know, so I'm not. You know, yeah, sure, she can open the door, but
I'll use my one vest in the cornfield. You know?
Well, what I love that you're pointing to also, Danette, is that it is about, it's not going to happen just once. It happens again and again and again, daily, hourly, minute by minute, whatever. And it's simply about that not simply.
Simple, not easy.
Right.
Simple, not easy. Yeah.
Exactly. It's that practice though, of like seeing and in, you know, exercising the escape plan, you know, so it's a practice of it. It's not sort of expecting, you know, as things as you encounter life that you're going to handle it perfectly and beautifully and so very zen-like each and every time, you know.
You don't? Really?
Have you seen me? Do you know me at all?
The zen of the pause.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just it's the effort, right? To shift from the reactivity to the heart, you know, to even just give it that space to listen to.
And every time you make that effort, this I'm convinced of, and it's borne out in the physiological research. Having been a physiological psychologist, that was my degree and all that. But the physiology is that every time you do that, literally every time you take a breath, you're sending the neural pathways differently than every time you don't take a breath. Every time. So every time you pause, you're it's like, you know, a trickle that starts down a mountain, and you've got this little thing, and then the next time you do it, it clears out a little more debris, and it clears out a little more debris until after a while you've got the Grand Canyon, where you just, if water's coming, if a life shock's coming in here, an event's coming in here, it's going to come down this stream, and it's not going to go down that stream. And that is that every single time that you do that. I'm convinced of that. Do I know that? Is it proven in literature? I don't know that I can say that. But what I know in my experience is now absolutely, completely, I'm able to pause. And pause, I don't know, 90-something% of the time. And shift over into something of heart. I'm sure of that. I'm absolutely convinced. And it doesn't feel like discipline. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying about discipline. I don't think I'm especially disciplined. But what I am is I'm committed to one thing, and that is love. And so if I'm committed to that, then I know this is not that. This reaction is not that. There's no doubt in my mind that when that energy rises in my chest, that is not love. It is not. And I've tried to make it love. Yeah. I've tried to, do it for the benefit of the family, or, just want to support you. God, if I ever say that phrase to Diane again, she will divorce me. She said to me years ago, just don't ever say that to me again. I just wanted to support you. That phrase never comes up ever in our household. Love me, don't support me. And so I want to see if you have something to add, because I want to talk about what I do with the pause.
Go ahead.
So there's several things that I know work for me. I don't know that they work for others, but I know they work for me. And one is the moment I feel that energy rising, I do breathe. Okay, I do. Maybe it sometimes takes 30 seconds. I don't know, but I know that because I know that if I get the energy out of my head and then down into my body, then my language, the chakras are activated that need to be activated. Almost always, as far as I can tell, every time, if I'm upset, I look down. If I'm upset with you, I need to go, because that way I'm saying I'm going in. This is inside me. It's not over there. This upset is not over there. Don't put it over there. It's not over there. I know it's not over there. I'm absolutely, completely convinced that nothing about my upset is over there. Nothing you can do to fix it. Nothing you can do to make it right. It doesn't mean there aren't things that need to be said to, round out the edges of where the upset goes. But that I'm absolutely sure about. And so for me, because of what I learned in my family was, my dad, we would sit at the dining table like this. My father would be at this end, and he'd kind of get his hands up and he'd go, "Now, you look pretty tense, son. What's going on?" And I mean, that was the beginning of it. It was sort of Dan and Lynn and then Peggy, and then by then Mom was upset. "Well, honey, just tell me what you're upset about." I mean, the thing was, if you were pissed off, you better raise your voice. I mean, literally, that's the way you got away from the table. Till you said what you were pissed off about, you didn't get away from the table. So I learned to look him in the eye and say, "Well, blah, 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 whatever I'm going to say." I mean, in some strange way, it worked in our family, but it didn't work in the world, So I breathe, and usually that's because I want to go in here. And if I'm looking at you, I'm over there. If I'm looking in here, I'm over here. The third thing I almost always do, this is with Diane especially. It doesn't happen very much anymore, thank God. But I will almost always say, "I'm upset. This is not about you. This is about me." Almost always. It's an absolute truth that I need to say, so that I just take that energy that's beginning to rise up from five falls. I take it back over here, and I look where I need to look. Okay, so I'm going to go, "It's not about you. I'm upset. It's not about you. I'm sure of that, sweetie." Or I wouldn't say that necessarily to Stephen, but it's not about you. Not about you, I mean, we'll have our bumps in the house, but it's not about you. And something's got me hooked. So I will tell some truths about what I know completely is I'm hooked by something, or that's the third thing. And then the other thing is I have one primary purpose in life, and that is to be in service, and to be in service in love. And if whatever I'm about to do is not that, I need to stop. Period.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Period. 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 And I have come to count on that. That if I say this is not that, my life is about being in service and love. It is that. That what rises up inside of me is then what's required in order for me to be in service and love, which is often an insight about where I'm hooked or what's got me, I'm like, we had a week or two ago, probably a couple of weeks ago, I don't remember, but before Diane left work, it was just, said, what's happening for me is you're working 4 days a week, then you're Wednesday at class, and you're Thursday teaching class Wednesday and Thursday. We have Friday off. And so the other 6 days, I'm just riding herd on this damn house sale. and everything's falling onto me, which, by the way, sweetie, I know is not true. But that's where I'm hooked, is I'm sort of carrying this entire thing. That's what's got me hooked. And I know that's not true. And by the way, I'm not earning the same money you're earning. We're able to live here and have food in the house because you're working. And that's what I know is true.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the pause for me is to go from up the energy and out.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's up and out. For some people, it's back. You know, some people, the energy is to pull back. You know, and so their breath might be, how do I stay present?
Right.
Yours is to pull the energy back.
Mm-hmm.
Others might be to, how do I stay present? How do I stay here? Not sort of, yeah. And so those things for me are what I do. Now, every now and then I say I need this. I'll be back in a minute. I just need to get my breath, and I'll go and walk out of the room. And I mean, it used to be I didn't say that. I just, you know, it was a saying. You know, it's like,
Capone. I won.
And you know, I did that for years. I could, how many hundreds of times? I mean, the door jambs that have been broken. I won't even tell you about the time I ripped the chair apart.
You don't.
You know, I mean, we all have those things.
There's something too that you're speaking to, and it's not just about, okay, when we're activated by someone outside of ourselves. I mean, I'm thinking of the number of times I can just be hanging out alone. And guess what? Like, it doesn't have anything to do with anyone else. And I'm completely triggered, and my energy goes up here. And it's the same, they're the same, what did you say, opportunities. They're the same opportunities for the pause. I don't want to call them tools. It's not really that.
Exit plan.
What's that?
The exit plan.
The exit plan. The same exit plan is there when we are confronting ourselves, if you will. When we are in that place where, guess who's beating up?
Yeah.
Guess who I'm beating up on?
Yeah. It's a good one, Gary.
So, and often I would arguably say 80% of the time that's what I'm doing. And then 20% of the time it's when that has built up that it then goes out. It goes out and it lands on every fucking person around me like an atom bomb. And it's because I haven't paused. It's just built and built and built and built, and then the volcano.
Yeah, so relatable.
So the good, I don't know, bad news, good news, is that when I see myself, I have a pause or an exit plan. When I see it land on them, I'm like, shit.
Mm-hmm.
I have let this go, like, this is what I've been doing to myself. Mm-hmm. And it is now spilling out like a fire hose on my entire family like lava. Granted, they have like really thick hazmat suits at this point, but I wish they didn't. I wish that well, that's a regret. Well, I could go there. We've already done that. Take that up later. But oftentimes it is when I'm in that alone space and, oh, you didn't do this, or you could have done that better. Like, it's the huffing at myself, the huffing. You didn't finish that. You know, the just like henpecking myself.
Yeah.
But then I can come in and go, hold on. Look down. Inhale, pushing that energy down.
Anything else from you or you? I have a couple more things I want to say, and then I think we figure out how we hear from others.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to hear.
I'll pause for now.
So I want to say just a couple, anything. Something skipped out, so let me see if I can pull it back in. Here it is. So the other thing is, if I'm really upset with Diane, or if I'm really upset with somebody, I'll often go to a third party to download.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the pause. I've done that with you. You know, I've done that with you. I've done that with you. You know, I've done that with Sarah. I've done that with many of you, many of you, many of you, many of you. Some of you. I've done that with Pauline. Done that with Jeff. And you know, I don't want to have a go at that person. And so Diane and I, a long time ago, stopped clearing our mind about each other with each other. A long time ago.
Good. That was a good idea.
I'm believing that you don't care. I mean, every now and then there's a heartfelt, can I check something out? I mean, that's just different.
Sure.
It's different. You know, to say I'm hurting about something. Another thing to say you're hurting me. You know, and so I think it's important pause, and relationship is not, I'm not going to take a run at you until I've got my sanity back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not going to take a run at you. And that's the power of the pause. Okay?
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking I want to do is stop this, and either we'll restart it and see what people want to feed in, or whether we want to let them talk to each other a minute. I think we want to hear from them first.
I want to know.
Yeah. So I'm going to just pause this part, and then we'll have both of them.